Welcome to Worship Leader Hangout, where we talk about many aspects of leading worship and leading a worship team. My name is Chad Buckland, and I'm here with Grayson Parker, the worship leader, main worship pastor here at Venue Church. And today we're just going to talk. We're just going to go deep in what Venue worship is and how they do things. And I'm excited to be with you, man.
Excited to be awesome. Here. Glad to have you here.
Before we get started, though, I do want to say you will hear some noises outside of the video. We don't have on the mics or anything. They're getting started for their first Wednesday this month, and a lot's going on here. So you'll hear some noises in the background, but we know you'll be fine. So.
You'll make it.
That's right. Anyway, so man, how'd you get started with Venue?
Yeah, man. So Venue's probably a little over 3 years old now.
Okay.
We turned 3 back in October, and 4 years ago, though, I'm from Greenville, South Carolina, or outside of Greenville, a little town called Anderson, South Carolina.
That's right. Which, if y'all don't know, that's where Worship Leader Hangout started.
Right. So it's like family right now.
That's it.
And honestly, God called Pastor Tavner to start a church in Chattanooga. He answered that call. I was leading worship with him when he was youth pastoring, and he just felt led that, God was wanting me and my family to be one of the families that move and be a part of Venue Church. And so we prayed about it, thought about it. The crazy thing about my story is, and my family's story is, we kind of let fear and worry kind of get in the way of stepping out of obedience and just answering the call that God had on our life. And so originally we never came.
So how long did it take for you guys to make that decision?
6 months, and I feel led to say it right now, like that was the worst 6 months of our life. Crazy story, and I'll keep it short, but our marriage was just going down the toilet. We were about to divorce. I was in a funky season of my life, and I just knew, honestly, I was living a life of disobedience, really, and I don't think it was necessarily God punishing me for being disobedient, but I think it was just an opener of like, I'm not walking in the direction that God had for my life and for my family's life, and we knew that we needed to get back on track and step out on obedience. And so 6 months later, we just did whatever we had to do, packed up and left within a month, and got to Chattanooga.
That's cool.
Been hitting the ground running ever since. Crazy thing is, when we first planted, I served the whole year, the first year of our church life, full time as a volunteer.
Oh, yeah, that is
without anything. And God really did something through that season, and then eventually got hired on at staff. And so I've just been here the whole existence of Venue Church, though, the last 4 years.
That's awesome.
Just been going ever since.
So what was it like those first few months with the worship team, the people that you worked with?
Well, the funny thing is, we didn't really have much of a worship team at all. Being a church plant, not knowing anybody in Chattanooga and in the area, I had a bass player that moved from Greenville with us, and there was another worship leader that moved here with us. And so we had 2 worship leaders, male and female, and a bass player. And so for the first few months, actually, I played the acoustic and would sing at the same time, and I would just kick a kick drum with my foot to keep that beat, and we would do just like acoustic worship services until I got an opportunity to meet some people. I even played keyboard on an iPad one time, because you just do what you got to do. You got to do what you got to do, no excuses. And so did that, and then from there, I just got to that point, you know what, I'm just going to start asking people. And so I eventually asked a random person, a college student actually, did he know any drummers? And he got me in touch with our drummer that's been here for 3 years now, ever since, hitting the ground running, volunteering, serving like crazy. And then God, since then, as we've grown, have sent us keyboard players, bass players. Awesome. And so it really started with just us, though.
So how many are on your team now? So you started with 3?
We started with 3, and then 3 years later, with our worship and production team, we have over 50 people.
Over 50?
Between 2 campuses.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
So you have, how many music, like say, bass players, for an example? How many bass players?
So we rotate right now with 3 bass players.
3 bass players,
yep.
Okay.
And we have, same thing, 2 to 3 guitar players. We have a couple of drummers and a couple of keyboard players as far as musicians go.
That's awesome.
Yep.
And guitarists as well.
Yep.
Do you have 2 guitarists?
One plays rhythm and one plays lead, and then also too, if I want to give them a break. I play a rhythm a lot
Okay.
while I sing and lead worship, and so that always gives us another guitar player while I lead worship. So
Absolutely, that's cool. That's
Very
really
cool.
good.
Very cool.
Now, when they became a part of the team, was there? I know at first it was just great to probably have somebody.
Oh yeah.
But now as you start to grow, as the team grows, as the church grows,
Yep.
you have to continue that culture and build
Yeah,
that culture. So
definitely.
what was that like? I mean, was it?
I mean, it was some work in the beginning, because just like if you're a church plant and you're starting with nothing and you got the ground up, you really have, of course you always want to take the vision of the church
Absolutely.
from your lead pastor and implement that. Never walk in and just as a worship leader and want to do your thing in worship ministry and what you think worship. You need to figure out how can you make the vision happen of the house so you'll have that blessing and the favor of God on that ministry, and then to implement things that is obviously in you as a worship leader and it's who you are in your DNA, but it wraps in with the vision of the house. And so it was real easy, because as we were learning and growing and teaching our musicians, where we're heading, where we're moving, things are constantly changing. I was always able, though, to point back to the vision of the house.
Yeah.
And since they knew the vision of the house because they are a part of our church, just like any of us, it was easy for them to wrap their brains and their minds around, like, oh, that makes sense, because, it's the vision of our house. And so anytime you give direction, give vision. Don't just give direction, because, and I always like to say this too, explain why behind what.
Mm-hmm.
If you explain the why behind the what, instead of just telling people and giving direction and saying what you're doing, if you always back it up with why and why our vision is this and what we believe in, then it makes what is going on around easier to be a part of.
Absolutely.
And you understand it, and there's no confusion.
Yeah.
So it's been an easy thing.
I'm going to put you on the spot.
Go ahead.
What is the vision?
The vision of our church as a whole is to see people live their fullest life. And so it's on our lobby doors, it's in our lobby area on big signs, to see people live their fullest life. And sorry.
No, you're good, and that's huge. Even as worship leaders, to know the vision of our church, know where our pastor is, as far as what he is seeing. One way some people put it is like, what is his sunset? What is he seeing for the church? His vision. You got to be right there with him as his worship leader.
Backing it up.
So that's
huge.
That's good right there.
If you have that in line, I mean, you have no resistance and you have no pushback, and you're not fighting obstacles. You're just clearly moving forward, advancing the kingdom and advancing the vision of the house.
But along those same lines, you still had folks that may or may not have been a part of that vision. They may have liked to play, they may have liked to be on the team, but they just let's talk about that just for a second. People that just don't quite fit. They may be great people, or it might be somebody that just didn't fit with the team itself.
Totally. And you'll have that. Don't get me wrong. Like, a lot of times on Sundays and what you see happening, you don't really see the behind the scenes, and so you don't know what people are dealing with. You don't know where they've come from. And so I think that's where the leader / pastoring side of, if you're a worship pastor, don't just think you're a worship leader, you're a pastor too.
Right.
And so if you can take into consideration where people are right now as they enter in to what they're trying to be a part of, that you can understand how to help mold them into what, and play a big part in connect them into what's already happening, and help, again, explain that why to the what, and help connect them in between and be that connector piece and getting them a part of what's going on.
That's right. And now, have you dealt with people, just not showing up on time?
Yeah.
And I mean, there's a lot of little small things, not just about being on time, but not learning their music. Not just falling in where they need to in that culture of your worship team. And now, what do you do in those cases? I know a lot of worship leaders. We sometimes just don't know what to do.
Yeah.
We don't know how to. If we should cut them completely from the team, or like you were saying, pulling weeds.
Yeah.
We were having lunch together earlier today, and you had to pull a few, and some came back, and that's blossomed.
I think it's just what you said. I know a lot of times it seems like we don't know what to do, but I think a lot of times we do know what to do. We just since we love people, care about people, and you want to give people a chance, it's hard to do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But as a leader, and we've set this culture from day one, and it's been easy. And two, if you have a culture that you need to reestablish and you want to get some new vision there and stuff, we always say it here at Venue, you want to set the bar and guard the bar. So that means you just set your standard, you set your expectations. That's the easy part. But the hard part is guarding it. And when I mean guard it, that doesn't mean physically go around and beat people up and bash them over the head, guarding it. But that just means you don't settle. You don't, we never want to lower the bar for people. We want people to rise to the bar. And so,
Absolutely.
I've had that. I've had 20 conversations with the same person about being on time before. But you know what they got from me? Consistency. And again, it goes back to why behind the what.
Mm-hmm.
One of our cultural values is we honor everyone. And so when I explain, hey, I need you to be on time, I just explain it with the vision. Hey man, we honor everyone. And if you don't show up on time, you're pretty much saying to everybody else, your time is more important than theirs.
Yeah, it's dishonor to
Yeah,
them.
exactly. And then they get frustrated. It kind of lowers the morale of the team. And then it has this behind the scene thing. So they're honoring you by showing up on time. Hey, you honor us, and let's honor each other, and let's all show up, because it's a team.
That's right.
It's not just me, it's not just you, it's all of us doing it. And the same thing with preparation. If you got a team member that is not prepared, pull them to the side. Hey man, we honor everyone. Like, one of the ways we do that is show up prepared. Everybody else is doing it because they want to not slow rehearsal down or hold things back or be a distraction on Sunday and hit wrong notes and cause disunity. We want to be unified and honor each other and honor the people that we get the opportunity to lead into the presence of God, honor God, and honor our lead pastor that's trusting us with the platform that we have in front of us on the stage to lead the people into the presence of God.
That's good.
And so again, as long as you always back it up with why and your vision, all my conversations are honestly easy conversations. And then that light bulb goes off, oh, I didn't think about that. That is true. We do believe those things.
Yep.
And so therefore now you just took a team member from this bar and got them to the bar you want them at, and you didn't have to back down and just suffer the consequences. And two, they didn't get offended and mad because you actually brought them in line with the heartbeat of our church.
Right.
And so everybody wins and we move forward.
Right. And if they do, I feel like too, if they do get upset, the best thing you've done is you've carried on that vision.
Yep.
Like what you were saying, you were trying to pull them as a leader to that bar, to that destination.
Totally.
And if they don't want to be at that, they don't have to.
No, they don't have to, because they're volunteering and they're serving. We're not holding a gun to anybody's head.
But then again,
all that.
If they don't have to. But then also, we don't need them on the team.
Right.
With that kind of culture.
Exactly.
That's not the culture we're building.
Nope.
Right.
And we say too, we don't have to do anything. We get to.
Right.
We don't have to lead worship. We get to lead worship. We don't have to do anything. But the cool thing is we get the opportunity to do it, and it's a huge blessing and an honor that God has chosen us to get to do what we get to do.
Exactly.
So you don't have to, you get to.
Now, one thing that I do love about venue and venue worship is the trust that I see between the volunteers and the leadership, and especially with worship. And that's one thing I've noticed, even in just the short time that I've been here today hanging out with Grayson, is that there's a genuine trust or genuine honor between he and the volunteers and other staff and that kind of thing. And let's just kind of talk about that for a little bit. Is how do we get to that point where all of our volunteers and other staff members are honoring each other, but also trusting each other to then be able to spend the time that they do. Because I know we were talking earlier, you were saying you guys start at from 6 in the morning on Sunday and go to almost 8 p.m.
Because we had 5 services. We had a 6 p.m. service too.
Everybody's volunteering.
Everybody's volunteering.
And that's incredible. So that's what we're going to talk about just for a minute here.
I mean, I think honestly it all starts again from just our vision and our culture and what we believe. And I think that, trust is obviously a hard thing to come by a lot of times in the culture that we live in. And even in church. I mean, there might be people watching right now that's been hurt by a church in the previous past, hurt by a pastor, a worship leader.
Even worship leaders.
Musicians. Christians,
I
mean, you name it, you've been, and so when you step into a ministry and you serve and you want to be a part of the team, sometimes you have walls up.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of times people are going to join your team, and I know have joined ours as well, that have trust issues, and that's not, necessarily my fault or your fault or anybody's fault. Obviously, it's a previous past experience, but the thing is you got to be figuring out, though, all right, since I know that a lot of people walk in with this baggage, this hurt, what I have to do, though, is earn it.
Yep.
Is earn their trust. And a lot of things I always want to make sure that I am doing as a leader and as their pastor is make sure everything that I'm preaching, everything that I'm saying to them, everything that I'm pushing and trying to get across, that I live it out 100%. And everything that I say that's going to happen, it happens.
That's right.
That I'm a man of my word, that I'm going to honor them just as much as I want them to honor me.
Yeah.
That I don't just give big expectations and nothing ever happens, and pump their heads with a bunch of big dreams, but none of them ever come true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think over the last 3 years, because we're not old, but they've just seen consistency.
Mm-hmm.
They've seen consistency, one, in me. Because a lot of times, as a leader, and you might be watching this today thinking this, or it might have somebody in your head right now, you want to blame them.
Mm-hmm.
And say it's their issues, it's their fault, they're going to have to get with it. But maybe sometimes you got to look at yourself and say, am I leading in such a way that if I was in their shoes, would I want to follow me?
Right.
And I think when you can shift the lens and the perspective, and that doesn't mean you're going to be the perfect leader in the world, because nobody's perfect. But at the end of the day, are you fully just alive and breathing, living, everything that you're trying to get these guys to do? And I feel like if they see a leader that is so confident, and that doesn't mean arrogance, confident in the vision, the culture, the direction, and the calling that God's placed on your life, then that makes them more confident to follow.
Yeah.
Nobody loves an insecure leader.
No.
Somebody that doesn't know where they're going and has no clue how to, and even if you don't know how to get there, act like you know how to get there. Because at the end of the day, they're looking to follow that leader. And I just think over the course of the 3 years of being a church, the one thing I've always wanted to focus on is just being a consistency. Mm-hmm. Being consistent. Like everything that I preach, live, operate in, talk, say, act. Again, I'm not perfect by any means. I have a bad day just like anybody. Yeah. The enemy gets in my head just like anybody. Life happens. But I've learned to not, lead with my circumstances around me, but staying focused on who God is. And a lot of people, too, lead from emotions. Mm-hmm. And if you got an emotional leader that's almost bipolar or moody, and so I always tell leaders, don't let your emotions lead you. You lead your emotions. Right. You need to be in control of what you're doing and how you're leading. And I think just over the years, they've seen I'm the real deal. When I say real deal, I come through with what I say. Right. I know there's probably a lot of incidences where people can be a lot of talk sometimes, and and this is the thing, they've seen me serve till 4 a.m. if I needed to change a set design. Everything I've ever asked them to do, they've seen me do. Mm-hmm. And so they know I'm not asking them to do something I wouldn't do. And so they see that buy-in. They see me in the ditches from day one, right in the trenches with them digging, not just saying, hey, you do it. Like, give me the shovel, I'll do it, and let's get beside each other and let's do this together. Absolutely. And it's just been a process, consistency though. And so that's just opened up a level of, they trust me because they know I've been consistent and real with everything that I've poured into them. Yeah. And I haven't been just sketchy or anything. And I think, too, I've learned to trust them. Yeah. Even if they fail, even if they make a mistake, they know I'm trusting them by doing this thing together. And I've tried to make that a we thing and not a me thing.
Well, if your team fails at anything or anybody...
We all fail.
Yeah, I mean, that just means they're doing something.
Exactly, because you can fail forward. Right. And you learn from it and grow.
That's what's great. And we gotta give them appreciation and give them praise on, hey, I know you failed at this job or this whatever, you missed that note. Yep. But that doesn't matter. You're doing it.
Yep, and we all have. I've been on that boat. And so who am I to say you got to be this overnight when I've made mistakes, I've
Right.
failed, but I've had pastors and leaders believe in me, and that's what's elevated me to where I'm at today. And so,
They trust you.
yep, they know I'm going to
Yeah.
believe in them, and even if they fail, I'm right beside them, picking
Mhm.
them up, saying, just keep going,
That's right.
learn from it. So
That's
yeah,
awesome.
it's been great.
That's good.
It's been
Yeah,
great.
and that, I believe that's a good culture to have is trust. I mean,
Yep.
because if they're just constantly like, oh yeah, he's just gonna get mad I'm late, or
Yep.
they're just gonna get mad at me, I don't know my parts. It's we don't want to develop that culture of I don't want to just see him blow up, because that's not leadership.
Nope.
So we're just that's just trying to push somebody into something. You know, as leaders, you know, we pull, and we're gonna go straight through that same path first. You know, but as we're pulling them along, and so it's that's huge. I mean,
And with that too,
appreciate you
I was going to
explaining
say that when you said pull, you know, a lot of times I love to say, I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up.
that. You're pulling. Yep.
You're calling them
Absolutely.
up to a new level.
That's it.
You're not necessarily just calling them out for what they're doing wrong. You're just pointing out what's going on to take them up, to call them up. And so I think if they understand you're not just calling them out all the time, but you're calling them up because you believe in them, that just kind of changes the whole everything.
Right.
Just changes everything.
I'm going to mention a few people that you have on your team. That,
Yeah.
Your main production girl.
Yeah, Elizabeth.
Elizabeth.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about what she's done.
Definitely. Elizabeth has actually been with us since day one. She
Okay.
came to Venue. She got saved day one,
That's awesome.
and devoted her life to God, and instantly got connected in the church and served our production team. Had no idea what anything to do with production was, but one of the things I love about her and a lot of people on our team is they're just willing to serve and learn.
Yeah.
Even if I don't know, teach me. You know, we're hungry, and so, you know, it's been cool. You know, so she's been here for over 3 years now, and just to see where she was at when she came and where she is now is just night and day difference. She now knows how to operate, run, and she teaches the new people, new volunteers, how to operate everything from lights to pro presenter, programs them every week as a volunteer.
That's awesome.
Just teaches everything across the board, can train people. And now this week she started interning full time in our office for different areas in the church and production and worship Monday through Thursday, 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. and rearranged her whole job at Chick-fil-A as a manager to just work at night. And so she'll get done interning here and then go to work and rearrange her whole schedule because she just believes, she's just all in with what she's seen, the change that God's done in her life. And every time she sees herself getting deeper and deeper in what she feels like God has called and created her to do, the more and more God's just like elevated her in that. And so, you know, we haven't pushed her, forced her, or anybody. And that's what I love about it. They're just hungry and they want it, and they're doing these things.
Yeah, and she made that decision.
Yep, she made that decision. Totally.
What up?
Totally.
What's up, man?
Did I interrupt y'all?
Yeah, you can interrupt us. Come on.
I heard you talking and I was like, are they shooting a video or?
So this is Pastor Mark Wagnon's worship pastor. And
What's up, man?
he came up to visit and hang out.
Tapney, you doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing great.
He's
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. He does like a worship leader, like production vlog.
Yeah, it's called Worship Leader.
And so while he was here, he wanted to ask questions about venue.
Oh,
Put it online.
awesome.
So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So at this point in time,
Yes.
what are your one or two favorite worship tunes that you guys do?
Yeah. We actually have.
Now, this is actually February now.
Yep, February. I just think for the season we're in, one of our favorite tunes right now to sing is "There's a Cloud"
Yeah.
by Elevation
Yeah,
Worship.
it's a
It
good
just came out
song.
on their pre-order, and it comes out. Their new album comes out in March.
Right.
But it just speaks. I think the one of the reasons it's so explosive in our church right now is it's for us in the season we're in.
Right.
Just talking about God meeting His promises and everything that He said would come to pass, it'll be done.
That's right.
And just receiving that. And so that song has just been our anthem in the season.
Absolutely.
And so yeah, it's been a blessing. So
And you got another one?
yeah, the other one, same thing. It kind of goes along the same vibe of faith. It's called "God of Miracles"
God of Miracles. Okay.
by Chris McClary, or however you say his name.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Sorry, Chris, if you're watching this.
Oh, he will be.
God of Miracles, because again, it just that opening line, let faith arise.
Mhm.
No matter what I see, I believe. And it's been a cool season of believing for God to do the impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And it's become impossible because of God. And so, you know, He is the God of miracles. And it's just really helped our faith keep rising up.
Yeah.
Like, as we have more campuses, as we're trying to grow and expand, as we're making decisions for the church and our people, that's just been a cool song to really keep us focused, because I feel like this last season we've been in, and even the season we're entering in now, is all about our faith.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just really believing that whatever God's saying is going to happen, and just walking.
That's right.
Walking on water almost.
Yeah.
So those two songs have really been a huge anthem for our church.
I'll link those 2 songs below.
For sure.
I mean, you can look them up and find them, but I'll link them just so you can have it there. But man, it's been a pleasure being here.
Thank you,
I'm
man.
not going. I'm not leaving yet.
He ain't leaving yet, but I'm gonna act like he's leaving
Man,
the video.
It's
Thanks for coming.
Thank you so
for real.
much for being on this video.
Love it, man. I love it.
Part of
Great
worship leading.
resource.
Yeah,
For sure.
it's cool. It's good to have you.
Yeah, man.
If you want to know more about Venue Church, they can go
Yep.
to.
Any social media, just search Venue Church, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. Also, venuechurch.com is our website. You can also find out, keep up with us, watch everything that God's doing there.
That's right. Are y'all on YouTube at all as well?
We are on YouTube and Vimeo as well. Just search Venue Church, and all our messages from our awesome pastors on there. Any videos, creative things, we always want to be a resource.
That's right.
You can find them on there as well.
Well, to keep up with new content coming on Worship Leader Hangout, you can click on this circle I'll put somewhere right here. You can subscribe. That's what you're going to do if you're not already. And thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, great worship leaders are always learning. Have a great day.